a lot of, I think the improvements I've made with social media has come down to you. So I would like for you to give me an honest evaluation from start, from where we began and why you first told me it was terrible, to like where we're at and the steps that we went through over time to get to kind of where my page is at now.
Firstly, there's this new trend. Well, we don't have ChatGPT in Hong Kong, but Al's given me this kind of like dupe ChatGPT thing where you take a screenshot of your feed and you ask ChatGPT to roast your feed. Why didn't you post it? I want to see.
Because mine wasn't that funny.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, but okay. So the thing is,
I'm just saying that's absolutely hilarious.
It was funny. So you could. It was really. It was. I was lolling at lots of what people were doing.
Oh yeah.
The thing is though, because. Okay, so firstly, we don't ChatGPT. I think is when people use ChatGPT, they're getting like high level AI roasting.
Yeah.
So I don't have I don't have ChatGPT, so I started with just Google.
Oh.
And the Google roast was terrible.
Yeah.
Then I went on to another one was like someone had put on their Instagram this website. Click on this and roast yourself. So I did it, and I was like, that was a bit of a weak roast. And then I went into po.com, which is another.
That's the one I'm using.
Yeah, so I went to Po, and I was like, roast my page.
Wasn't that
and the first roast was actually quite offensive. I was like, fucking hell, this is like.
Please post that.
This wasn't even funny. It was just like savage. But it was a bit generalized. It wasn't specifics because I was reading the roast of like some other people, and I was like,
it was hilarious.
It was hilarious. I was like, wow, they've actually like nailed it.
I saw Naz's, and I couldn't stop laughing. Nazaria from.
I saw Mavs. From Mobox, his was really good.
Okay, people who have real ChatGPT, message Ed and let him use it. I want to see his roast.
But the roast was basically telling me that it was basically saying that I had no posts. I didn't post enough, and it was rinsing me about my followers to like following ratio. Basically saying like. I was just like, it was still pretty funny, but it wasn't funny enough. I thought I was like, I wanted to get roasted harder.
Oh wow, okay.
That's actually what I wanted. I wanted like an actual really good roast.
Okay, anyways, back to the story. So I think in the beginning, when I had this conversation with you, it was because you actually have a substantial number of followers now. It's grown quite a lot. I looked at your page the other day. You didn't have as many followers that I would imagine that someone of your caliber in the industry would have had. And then when I was looking through your feed, I could tell why. It felt like, I'm really sorry. I'll give you this roast that you've been looking for.
Please, thank you. I want a real life. I get the real life
the real life roast.
Way better.
It was not very authentic and not very genuine. I think you were posting just for what would get likes. Like I would see, some of your photos would get lots of likes, but that's because you were like tops off, like drinking, something that was just like completely unrelated to your brand and your business. And I can see, and at this point of time, you weren't as self-aware or self-confident, I would say, in yourself now, where you weren't seeking validation of how many likes that you were getting. And so I could understand why you were posting that way. But it wasn't a reflection of your business. It wasn't a reflection of your offerings. But in your defense, I would say it's because you weren't using social media to get more clients. You had a full client base and you weren't really seeing it as a benefit to get more people in coastal fitness as well.
Accurate.
Yeah. So I think that was just your feed. You were using it as a personal blog, basically. And when I first started here, that was the huge avenue where I thought was missed, is that
I think I
wasn't even Ed Haynes'
coach.
No,
I was just Ed Haynes.
Yeah. And so that was an issue. And then your bio was an issue as well, because it said like it had nothing to do with even what you were doing.
Really
I know,
cringe.
it was something freaking
like
cringe.
Chasing sunsets.
Yeah, it was something
lifting
lame.
weights or something.
I'm so sorry for people who have that. Oops.
No, if you have that, that's lame.
Yeah, so that's where we started. We started where your Instagram handle is what people search, that's what's going to come up. So you changed it. I would change, if you could, removing the underscores, because that's a barrier as well, that I've only recently just learned, but I shared that. Your Instagram main name should say either who you are, what you do, in your bio as well, because those keywords are what people search and enable to them get to you. So we made those small changes, and then we looked at your feed. And we were kind of like, and at this point, there was no such thing as Reels when we first started. It was solely just posts. I don't even know if there was carousels at that point. It was just single images. Yeah. So we were kind of like, okay, stop posting all of these thirsty kind of photos. I think you were single at this point in time too. So it was a very thirsty feed. Here's your roast, Ed.
I like it.
So yeah, we were kind of like, okay, let's sack all that. Like, you are not looking for that right now. Your main purpose is to grow your business. So how are you going to grow your business? You're a coach that coaches coaches, but you're also a CrossFit Games coach. You're a personal trainer. So you started posting more things that were aligned.
You have a gym.
Yeah, and you have a gym, what your gym is about, the people in your facility and stuff. And that's where we just started. And you, like you do most things, you picked it up really quickly. You always sought feedback and you were willing to try new things, and you did. And as Instagram started growing, we had to reevaluate again. Once there was carousel posts, we had to be like, okay, well, what are we going to utilize that for? It's like, yes, you could put 10 pictures of yourself, or it's now an opportunity to create a very eye-catching graphic that's educational. And so that's the route that you wanted to take. You're like, well, I'm an educator, so let's create educational
So I'm just going to
content.
pause you there because I want to just share some stuff on that. I think what I realized very quickly on the posting side of things was that I didn't really like the video stuff. And I didn't like the videos because I feel like I didn't have a skill set in making videos. And I'm quite time tight, so I didn't have time to sit. I didn't create time at that point in time to sit and create a video. I just thought it was just a waste of time. I didn't have it. So I think I tried it in the early stages, and I realized pretty quickly that it just didn't feel authentic to me. And what felt more authentic was an image, and I quite like to thought dump and, just share what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. And so I guess my post ended up being pretty text heavy, with maybe an average image, which I think, and that still very much is what my Instagram page is, I think. But
with text heavy stuff, sorry to interrupt, another thing that we fixed is adjusting the text. So you would put everything in one whole paragraph, and I'm like, well, that people aren't going to read that. So being the copywriter obsessed person that I am, I'm like, well, put paragraphs, make some lines shorter than other lines, make some paragraphs shorter than others, have intentional dots, intentional breaks, because
but remember back in the day, you couldn't do that on Instagram.
You would have to put it on notes and then copy and paste.
You had to put on notes, and then, or if you wanted to write it, you had to put like a full stop. You couldn't put full stop. You just had to hit a new line. Do you remember that?
That was a lot of work. That's why you had to put on notes and then copy and paste. It was a lot of work, but like those little things, like, will affect how long people are on your feed. Because another thing with Instagram is your post will get rewarded for how long people are on there. So if people are reading towards the whole text, then that engagement will be more gifted. Or if people swipe all the way to the end of your carousel, then Instagram will be like, oh, that's interesting content, I'll keep that. If people are only swiping until like the second or third, Instagram will be like, that's boring content, I'm not gonna put that. So it's a lot to think about for sure. But overall, it should just be engaging. And I think that's what we've tried our best to work with you to be like what you said, it has to be something that's authentic and easy for you, but also engaging, right? And so video wasn't that. You tried really hard with Reels for a while. And we were like, Ed, you're just not a Reels guy. But you do put it in now, and you found your niche in Reels, which is educational Reels, not like the funny, trendy ones, right? And then with graphics, it's like we initially started with the very text-heavy ones, and now we're like, okay, let's break them up by putting pictures, or let's break them up by putting icons, something that's more appealing, right? And now there's 20. I'm kind of nervous for your educational post with 20 slides.
Oh yeah, I haven't done a 20 carousel yet.
That's a crazy carousel. But yeah, so and there was a point in time where we had to reevaluate again, because we were looking at when the reel started. It's like, okay, well, the cover images weren't good. You weren't like putting it into the square so that the image
I was for a while I was making everything on Canva.
Yeah, and they were awful.
Yeah, because I was basically I'm quite an impatient person.
Yeah,
like if I want something
it has to be done now.
Has to be done now. And so basically, Izzy, you'd given us the opportunity to like message you, and then you would work with your team to create the graphic and then send it back to us. But I was just too impatient. I was like, I want it now because I've written it now. So what I ended up doing, I just go into Canva and try make my own version of what I think would look cool. And I basically get a message like an hour later being like, this looks trash. Delete it.
It looked really bad.
Yeah. And then but I was like, in my head, I was like, does that even matter? The content's up there. Now I know, because the content that I look at, if it's crap and it's just too wordy and small, the writing's small, I'm not going to read that.
You're not going to read it.
Even if it's great.
Important. Yeah, because again, in this day and age, aesthetics matter, and like
Yeah,
your
the frame,
first
the picture frame
impression,
matches as much as the
exactly,
picture sometimes.
exactly, the text, and like with us, because we have so many businesses, we need to keep the fonts and we need to keep the colors consistent so people know that it's about something that you do, right? And when they go onto your feed, they want to be like, oh, this guy puts effort. This guy knows what he's doing and he's investing in this post. It must be good. Like, that's what you think about when you look at stuff. You're like, oh, this person probably only took 2 seconds to do it. It's probably not even worth my time, you know, where it's like that stuff is important.
I think something that took me a while to understand was this whole idea of, like, you were just talking about it earlier, you know, that your Instagram should be an authentic version of you just
Yeah.
online. I guess I always thought of Instagram as like, okay, I need to create something that's like
Your best foot forward.
yeah, or it's gonna like something that has to break the internet, you
Mm.
know, something that's like full of wisdom and education.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd find myself putting like hours of work into creating like this very thoughtful post,
Mm.
and I put it up there and it would just be like, I just felt like the engagement was really low, no one really cared. And I think the way I see it now is that, you know, being a coach online, or you know, being someone like me where you have multiple coaching businesses, but a lot of which is online, it's, I think, less now about trying to sell my businesses, and I think more about just trying to show the world who I am. Because at the end of the day, like, there is thousands, maybe millions of people out there online who are offering fitness advice, fitness coaching. They have businesses like myself. How's one person going to choose, you
Someone
know,
or the other. Yep.
Izzy's coaching versus Ed's coaching?
Yeah.
Yes, it might come down to the services, but to be honest, you're offering personal training and so am I.
Yep.
We're all offering online programs. At the end of the day, people feel a connection to the person.
Yep.
And it's like the same way that you would in the old days go down to the pub and meet someone and have a chat with them, become friends with them.
Yep.
Social media has now become the online pub where you can just meet anyone and not actually even have an interaction, just see a page and feel. You know, you can just see, you're like, I like the way that this guy talks.
I want to
like
invest
what
in
this
it.
guy's
Yeah.
this guy's doing. I feel like this is the way I kind of look at it. I feel like if I bumped into this person in the pub, I'd be friends with him.
Yeah.
Or her. And then you kind of create this connection to them, and then the likelihood that that person is going to invest in whatever business you put out there one day is higher.